You said you wanted more, so here it is, episode number 9 of How to Become a Film Director. Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to tell you how to enhance your visual. Now I'm talking here about physical things you can do on set to enhance your visual. I'm not talking about all the things you have to do in pre-production. We've covered it quite a lot recently. And I'm not talking about post-production, color grading, and stuff like that. I'm talking about physical things to do on set. Now, I've said before that you don't have to know everything. There are things you should know and things you don't need to know. But one thing is sure, you never know too much. And why is there things you don't have to know? It's because you hire people that are good in those departments to do those jobs. But one thing that really has to come from you is knowing how to set up a scene. That has to come from you. You have to be the mind behind the building of a scene. It's your movie, it's your vision, it has to be your aesthetic. Sometimes what you have to do is you have to come up with references to guide your crew in the direction you want to go. And a good way to do that is to come up with, it could be movie scene on YouTube, your cell phone or whatever. It could be a picture on a magazine that you're going to cut and bring to your crew and show that's what I want. It could be a painting. It could be a picture you took in a museum because you liked how the light was falling on that statue. It could be anything. Come up with references and build from that. So how to enhance your visual? Well, I think there's 3 categories. There's the actor position, there's the camera tricks, and there's the lighting. We will start with the first one, actor position. What you want to avoid is you want to avoid having your actor back to a wall. You want to have depth of field. That's what you want. So if you come in a location and you want to have 2 actors talking, sitting in couches, having a conversation, you definitely don't want to have the couch back to a wall. You want to move it in the middle of the room and switch everything around to have some depth of field behind. Unless you want to create something dull, something not too pleasing. A good example of that is in Donnie Brasco, where you see Al Pacino sitting on a couch back to a wall, and he's dressed it's not very pleasing for him. And that's probably why they put him on that big couch there, back to the wall, to portray that character as if he was not so happy, not so everything is going wrong for him. You don't just have to listen to what he has to say. Everything goes to support what he's saying. And when we move on Johnny Depp, he's sitting on a smaller couch. He has a lot of depth of field. He's much more pleasing to watch. He has a nice backlight over his head. He has a practical on his right side. He's much more pleasing to watch. That way, when you will go in close-up shot of him with a very fast lens, long and fast lens, you will have shallow depth of field behind, and that's what you want. Now, you might also want to have something in foreground. Like the shot we saw of Al Pacino, that was not that ugly, and the reason is that there was something in front of him. We were seeing a table with props on the table, glasses of beer and stuff like that. So that was there to help create that third dimension, not behind him, but in front of him. Like here, for example, there's a corner of my computer here in the framing, which is in foreground. I can also add something, let's try this here. If I put something like this here in front of the lens, which is totally out of focus now because it's very close to the lens. So if I'd be talking to an actor that way, that will be blur, and the back will be blur, and I would be the only thing in focus. So that will help to create some nice shots. And a last one is it's always nice to have a practical in your shot. Practical being a source of light that you see within your framing, like the lamp just behind me here. It's very nice to have that, not all the time. Sometimes it could be a window also, but a source of light within the framing. That will help enhance your visual, and that will help to position your actor within the environment. So let's move on to point number 2, which is camera tricks. But now, first, let's move that out of the way. So camera tricks. Now here, what you have to remember is keep some variation. That's the best advice I can give you here. So go from wide shots to medium shots to close-up shot from time to time and have some variation. But don't fall into a pattern. Don't do the same thing scene after scene, because it will become boring for us to watch. You can also have some variation of camera angle. Look up to a strong character from time to time and look down to a weaker character from time to time. You can also keep your camera in movement. Wally Pfister, if I'm correct, the cinematographer of Christopher Nolan, says that Chris likes to keep his camera moving all the time. It helps to create some dynamic in the scene, which is absolutely right. So you can keep your camera moving from different way. You can have some handheld shot, you can have some dolly shots, and you can have some all kinds of shots. You can also have tripods, fixed tripod shots from time to time. Keep variation of that also. Now, don't always go for the shallow depth of field. We've talked about it before, but don't do that all the time. Otherwise, we will not see them after 5 minutes within your film. And don't always go for the big picture also, the big landscape where everything is in focus and everything is wonderful to watch, because 5 minutes into your movie or 10 minutes into your movie, well, everything will look normal because we see nice shots all the time. So keep variations of that. You can also keep variation in the length of your shot. Paul Thomas Anderson is very well known for his very long sequence shot. 2, 3, 4 minutes shots from time to time. That's very nice to have that in a movie, and especially if you have very good actors. You need to have good actors to sustain a scene without any cuts for that long, for that 2, 3 minutes. So if you have good actors, that will help to show that they're good, and the movie that will serve the movie for sure. So that's it for the camera tricks. Keep some variation. Now move on to lighting. Now some of you might say that lighting is the job of a director of photography, so why bother? Well, simply because the first films you will be making, you probably won't be working with a DP. And second, because when you will be working with a DP, you need to know what to tell him. You need to know what are your preferences, what you're expecting from him. So you need to know the basics. And I'm going to tell you that. The basic way of lighting a scene is what we call a three-point lighting, with a key light, a fill light, and a backlight. That's exactly what I have here now in my studio. I have a key light here at about 45 degrees from me, which is the main source of light on me right now. I have a fill light on that side here, which is there to fill the shadow created by that light. And I have a backlight behind me to create kind of a rim around my head to have it pop out of the background. Now, if I would shoot a scene, I would have the same setup, but I would probably dim all those lights down to create an ambiance. And I would be looking at an actor sitting beside the camera here. That will be the exact same pattern. Now, here I'm going to flag all those lights one by one for you to understand what is the effect created by each one of those lights on your subject. I'm going to flag them with what we call a flag, which is a board, simply. I'm going to start with the key light. That is going to be very, very important in terms of effect on me. In fact, it's going to be very ugly because I'm in the dark now. Nothing comes out of me now because I'm in the shadow, so there's no strong light on me. So let's bring it back. So now we have all those lights again. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the fill light. It's going to be much more subtle this time. In fact, so subtle that I could possibly shoot a scene that way. If I want to create a more dramatic type of scene, closer to a film noir type of film, I would possibly shoot that scene without a fill light to create shadows on that side. Now let's bring it back. And the last one here, I'm going to try to reach to that top light here, the back light, and I will try to hide it. So this is without a backlight, so my head is not popping out of the background as it was before. So I'm going to bring it back. So now you know the effect all those three lights have on your subject. Now, I want to step back a little bit here in time and remember the 180-degree rule, okay? So let's presume I'm talking to that actor still beside the camera here. So there's an imaginary line here between him and me. So if the camera is on this side, it means that all the shots have to be made on that side, right? And my suggestion here is to always put the key light on the opposite side of the line from the camera. So here the key light is at 45 degrees on that side, but it could also be anywhere here, even straight to the camera there. That would create a totally different effect, but that would also be very nice. In fact, there's a practical in the direction of the camera right now, and it creates a very nice effect. So that could be the key light if it would be very, very strong, which is not the case now. It's just a practical, just there to create an ambiance. So why is that? Why to put the key light always on that side? Well, simply because it's much more pleasing to watch. It's more aesthetic, it's more beautiful, and it's more flattering for the actors. Some great cinematographer will say that cinematography is not the art of lighting, it's the art of shadows. And what you want to have towards the camera is not the lit side of your actor, it's the shadow side of your actor. You want to have him in shadows, and you want to have light coming from behind him here. Well, there are cases when you might want to have the key light on the same side of the line as the camera. Maybe if you want to create a pattern in his face or in the back wall. I've used that recently in a film called Alone Inside, where I've wanted to create the illusion that my character was in a prison. Well, it was a metaphor. He was not in a prison, but he was looking through a window, and I wanted to use the sun to my advantage to create the pattern with the blinds in the windows, to create lines on his face to mimic as if he was in jail. Now, I want to talk about the Pacino scene again. Remember, I told you that that scene was not that bad after all, even if Pacino is sitting back to a wall. But there's two reasons for that. I've talked about the foreground, the props on the table, but there's also another thing. There's shadows on the back wall that creates a pattern. So the back wall is not completely plain. And that has been created on purpose by the director of photography, and it was created probably with what we call a cookie. The same thing I have here in my studio right now. If you look behind me, there's a practical here. Above that practical, there's a pattern on the wall. That pattern is not created by the lamp. It's an illusion. That's what I wanted you to think. But in fact, it's created by a cookie, which is right on my right-hand side here. And I'm going to take it off and look at the effect it will create on the back wall. So I'm taking it out now. So there it is, the wall without a cookie. So you have now a plain wall. It's totally different. And this is my cookie. Well, you can do any patterns you want. This is what I've created. I'm going to put it back. And now you will look at the back wall again. And now you will feel very, very smart because you will recognize the pattern on the back wall because you saw the cookie. But you've been watching that video for more than 10 minutes now and you've never noticed that. That is called cinema illusion, and that is how you can enhance your visual. Now, if you want to know more on the subject, just click on the link on screen and go watch that other video I made that will tell you how to set up a scene for a discussion happening between two characters. Now, in the meantime, I thank you for watching. Keep on giving me some thumbs up, subscribing, and see you next time. Ciao. Bye.